You found it. Your home for the best content on your favorite team, the Fighting Tigers of LSU. Do us a favor, subscribe to the channel, leave your comments below, and be sure to smash that like button. Transfer portal opened up on Tuesday, and there's already been a flurry of action around LSU. We learned last week that Jackson Howard, the defensive end from Minnesota, was going to enter the portal, so he was the first. And today there's been a flurry with an additional 3 LSU Tigers. As of right, it's 3:17 Central Time on Wednesday. So as of right now, 3 more players have entered the portal. We'll run through them all just very quickly, and then I'll give you some thoughts. First was wide receiver Khai Prean. This was reported first by Pete Nakos over at On3. Whenever Khai Prean, who was a 4-star receiver in the class of 2023 when he committed to LSU, Florida State, Mississippi State, Auburn were other finalists for Khai Prean. So Jackson Howard was the first. Khai Prean was the second. Connor Gilbreth, if you remember Connor Gilbreth's story, he was a JUCO tight end who came to LSU with the idea of getting bigger and becoming an offensive lineman. Well, Connor Gilbreth tweeted, this is from Connor Gilbreth's Twitter just a bit ago, I'm officially in the transfer portal, 3 for 2, meaning 3 years to play 2, so he still has a redshirt year available, open to all opportunities. So Connor Gilbreth, the next into the transfer portal. He's an interesting one because, again, as you remember, the LSU brought him in as a tight end with the idea of being a blocking tight end that they would bulk up and convert potentially to an offensive tackle. So Gilbreth becomes the third player in the portal. And then Ryan Robinson Jr., the defensive back, he tweeted as well, I'm officially in the transfer portal. God's plan with a prayer hand emoji. So again, if you're scoring at home, Jackson Howard, Khai Prean, Connor Gilbreth, Ryan Robinson, those 4 Tigers in the portal. And by my very unofficial math, that should put LSU within the number of compliance to 85 scholarship players. Last week when Jackson Howard hit the portal, we told you that the number, based on my math and a couple of conversations with folks at LSU, had LSU at 88. At 88 players for that. That's including the incoming freshman and Gio Paez, who had already committed. That put him at 88. So they were going to need to lose at least 3 more. Well, Khai Prean, Connor Gilbreth, and Ryan Robinson, there's your 3, which should put you at 85. Now, the flip side of that, of course, is that LSU still plans to add players via the portal, most likely at defensive tackle. So you're probably not done. You're probably going to see even more attrition here for this team. The most notable here, I think, is Prean. Connor Gilbreth, look, LSU's really good at tight end, and again, Gilbreth was sort of the blocking tight end that we're trying to bulk up and turn him into a tackle. But just look at the emergence of Mac Markway, who is your prototypical tight end. You got, of course, Mason Taylor going into his junior year now that everybody's excited about.
Mason Taylor!
Kamorian Pimpton is going to be a good red zone threat. You're going to be good at tight end. And then Ryan Robinson, in a year like last year where LSU was as bad as they were in the secondary, to not break through kind of illustrates where you stand in the pecking order. Probably a good opportunity to go find another place to play. But with Prean, what was interesting about Khai Prean is in the portal, he had the do not contact designation, and that probably, when you have a do not contact designation, that very likely means you know where you're going already. So it's probably one of those things where Prean already knows what his landing spot is going to be. But when I look at receiver, LSU is just so loaded at this position. And I don't, this isn't me pandering and telling you what you want to hear. It's just the reality of it, but it also illustrates the direction roster management's going. Let me spell this out for you. So Jaylen Brown, remember LSU signed this great receiver haul a year ago with Shelton Sampson and Jaylen Brown and Kyle Parker and Khai Prean. So you signed this great receiver haul. Well, after last year, Jaylen Brown leaves, right? After the bowl game, Jaylen Brown hits the portal. And now Khai Prean has hit the portal. Jaylen Brown was number 79 nationally. That's not the 79th best receiver. Jaylen Brown was the 79th overall player in the country. And Khai Prean was number 408. So these are, but he was a 4-star. So good players, right? And look, Khai Prean, by the way, Saturday in the spring game, he kind of polished it off, if you missed it, with the touchdown from Colin Hurley. If you were watching the spring game, Hurley put up the deep ball on the left sideline it was a 64-yard touchdown, a catch and run for Khai Prean that kind of punctuated the spring game. So this is a guy who's a Louisiana kid who can flat out fly and is a really good prospect. But look at what you have at receiver. Kyron Lacy, Chris Hilton, Aaron Anderson, those are returners. You do have Landon Ibieta still there as well as a scholarship receiver, although he hasn't really made an impact. You bring in C.J. Daniels and Xavion Thomas out of the portal, and you've still got Kyle Parker, Shelton Sampson, and then the freshmen coming in, Billiot, Watkins, and Turner. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. That's 11. Even with Khai Prean gone, that's 11 scholarship receivers. We're talking about a 5-star like Shelton Sampson, who at best right now is probably your 6th receiver. They're loaded. But what I think this shows is the shift in how teams are going to manage their rosters. And what I mean is LSU at the end of last season, when Malik Neighbors and Brian Thomas Jr. elect to go to the draft, and of course you get Kyron Lacy back, you had a couple of options. You could have said, you know what, we're really excited about Jaylen Brown and Kyle Parker and Khai Prean and Shelton Sampson. We're really excited about those guys. We know we got Lacy and Hilton and Anderson. Let's let those young guys battle it out to see who's going to win that job, who's going to develop and become the dude. You could go that route, or you go hit the portal. And you go get C.J. Daniels, who last year had 55 catches for 1,067 yards. And you had Xavion Thomas, a Louisiana kid who was in the conference at Mississippi State, who had 40 catches for 503. The two receivers that have transferred out, Khai Prean and Jaylen Brown, do you know how many combined career catches they have? Jaylen Brown, Khai Prean, combined career catches? 0. None. Bagel, goose egg. They haven't played. So you're Brian Kelly, you're Frank Wilson, you're Jordan Arcemont, Austin Thomas. You're looking at your roster. Do you want to hope and prayer, on a hope and a prayer, watch the young guys grow up and get better and develop? Or do you say, hey, we have this great tool available to us to where we can go get a guy who had 55 catches for 1,067 yards, who's played 3 years of college football? Do we bring that guy in here as our number 4? Yeah, you do. And it's just, you may not like it. Like, you may not like the transfer portal and how that's all happening, but think of it working in your favor the way it didn't a year ago. Last year, LSU wanted to add Keon Coleman and Braden Fisk and Fentrell Cypress, and they got outbid by Florida State on all 3 players. I walked you through these numbers. Last year, LSU wanted all 3 of those guys. Offered them each about $100K. Florida State offered them each about $250. So LSU's total offer for all 3 of them barely was above what Florida State paid one of them. That's why they went there. LSU ain't going to have that problem this year, y'all. I went through a lot of the numbers with you yesterday. LSU's, and again, Gordon told us some of this on the record, some of it's conversations I've had, but LSU's roster last year cost about $4 million. By comp, Texas last year was about $9 million. And they're looking to push to 10. LSU wanted to get from 4 to about 7 this year. I'm telling you, they've raised more than that. And they had $1.5 million that they had committed in the $500,000 each for Brian Thomas, for Mason Smith, and Mekhi Wingo, all who went pro. So LSU's got money. They've got money to spend in this portal cycle, and they ain't going to be outbid for players they want at positions of need because it bit you last year. I mean, think if you had Keon Coleman. Take Keon Coleman and Braden Fisk a year ago off of Florida State, put them on LSU. How different is that football game down in Orlando in the opener, right? That ain't going to happen this year. So, yeah, you got to win now. If you have the opportunity, and I know Brian Kelly says he wants to build through the high school ranks and supplement with the portal. It's a great way to do it. But there's going to be opportunities where you have to decide, do I trust my redshirt freshman or do I go get a 4-year guy who was a 1,000-yard receiver a year ago? It's an easy answer. Yeah, it's a 1-year stopgap. It's a 1-year mercenary, but it's going to make you better in this 1 year. In a year where you're replacing 2 first-round picks at receiver. You take so much of the guessing game, the ambiguity, the unknown and uncertainty out of it and go with more of a sure thing. So, again, LSU starting to come into focus a bit. So, Khai Prean, Connor Gilbreth, Ryan Robinson, the 3 players after Jackson Howard down to the portal. So 4 Tigers now in the portal. By my count, LSU is within roster compliance. But if you want to go add players in the portal, and they're going to be LSU is going to be buyers in this portal cycle, you're probably going to have to lose a few more. So we'll see how that goes as we move throughout this portal window. Hey, thanks so much for watching. Please leave your comments. I love to interact. And be sure to hit the red subscribe button below.